The N3 was reopened late last night to clear traffic at the Van Riemen's Pass, and graders and rescue teams started clearing a safe passage for stranded road users. Former Botswana President Ian Khama says he's back for good after a 3-year self-imposed exile. And the leaders of Australia, India, Japan and the United States have announced plans for new security initiatives in the Indian Ocean. And a very good afternoon to you. It's just gone 12 noon Central African time. This is The Week Ahead, coming to you live from our SABC News studios in Johannesburg, Auckland Park. I am Sebenzile Nkambule. If you would like to participate during the next 2 hours of the show, please do give us a ring and share your views. Our studio line is 011-714-0680, 0681 or 0682. Welcome. We start here this afternoon. The N3 was reopened late last night to clear traffic at the Van Riemen's Pass. Graders and rescue teams cleared a safe passage for stranded road users, and the Road Traffic Inspectorate began escorting them out of the area in the southbound lanes towards KwaZulu-Natal. Now, despite some parts of the N3 highway between KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng being reopened to traffic, authorities are advising South Africans to delay their travels. Travellers spent over 24 hours on the N3 since Friday night, stuck in their vehicles as a result of snowfall, which led to the closure of the highway. However, one person died of hypothermia. The victim collapsed in a shopping centre at Maryvale after spending Friday night in a taxi stuck in the snow. Most of the routes that were closed due to the weather have been reopened, but motorists are urged to exercise caution. And former Botswana President Ian Khama says he intends to stay in the neighbouring country. He received a warm reception after he got back from self-imposed exile in South Africa. In a surprise move last week, Khama appeared in court and had warrant of arrest dropped. He faces several charges, including unlawful possession of a firearm and money laundering. Khama had a fallout with his successor, President Mokgweetsi Masisi.
A warm reception for former Botswana President Ian Khama. He has been exiled in South Africa as he fled fearing for his life.
You're doing it in my name. Yes,
all those who were put in cells by police, those who spent the Christmas holidays in cells, I would like to apologize to you because you were doing it in my name. You were doing it for me. I'm so grateful and I love you all. I would like to thank Botswana who sent messages to me when I was in South Africa. I would like to thank even Nigerian former President Obasanjo for helping me from day one.
Nigeria, General Obasanjo, who legally from the first day up to now.
Khama has rejected accusations leveled against him.
Butterfly. 100 billion pula. 100 billion pula.
They started this issue when we were heading to elections in 2019, and I was accused of stealing 100 billion pula. And Botswana did not have such amount of money, and they don't know how to count money. In court, they say there is nothing. In Parliament, the Finance Minister says he knows nothing. In 2020, I was told that these people want to poison you. I was shocked that even here in Botswana, we can have such a situation. I don't know what happened with our country.
He also wants to reclaim his position as the chief of Mamangwate people.
35 May kgwedi ya May 1979 go khoteng ya hetsa ya ke beile mo stilo ona kgosi kgolo wa rona.
On the 5th of May in 1979, I was appointed as a chief by this court. Now there was a government gazette that shows I'm a chief of Bambangwato. But because I was still a soldier, they said there will be an acting chief. Then I continued with my military assignment. Now there is someone who is big-headed, who went to court thinking he is now the chief.
Meanwhile, the Botswana government has described its outrageous claims that they were part of the plot to assassinate Khama. Khumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Let's take a look now at some of the stories that are making headlines this Sunday in our Sunday newspapers. We'll start with the Sunday Times this afternoon, and they are leading with N3 snow havoc. And this, of course, highlighting the incredible weather that we have seen there. They are, in fact, also reporting on the one person who was reported dead. This is after freezing in Maryvale, and this is near Howick, and she died of hypothermia. Some travellers reported they spent 2 nights in the car, essentially trapped in their cars since Friday as a result of the snow. Let's look at the Sunday Tribune as well, also focusing on the same story here. Thousands stuck in freezing snow is what the Sunday Tribune is leading with there. They focus there on perhaps the positive side, if you will, on how locals have assisted stranded motorists between the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal since Friday. The Tribune reporting there on how volunteers in neighboring communities cooked and collected blankets for people who were trapped in their vehicles. And you can see incredible pictures there of that snow, and just above that, the Sharks winning the Currie Cup yesterday. Let's look at the City Press now. The City Press, that headline, fear and loathing in justice, as Smelane's department faces off against Batowi's NPA. They're reporting there that the storm or the tension here between the NPA and the Justice Department is as a result of 2 advocates who were on the Zondo Commission. This is Matthew Chaskelson as well as Paul Pretorius, who were in fact hired by the NPA as consultants without being vetted. They also highlight there that there was an attempt to change the law for Batoy to serve her term beyond the age limit, and that these are some of the issues that are causing tension between the ministry as well as the NPA. And of course, the ongoing issue of the Justice Minister, Thembi Smelane's Gundo loan, which remains an issue that haunts the minister. That's what the City Press is leading with there. And the last publication we'll look at now is the Sunday World, leading there with blow to NPA's graft case against Koko. That is Matila Koko, who is a former executive at the power utility Eskom. The story focuses there on how the NPA's corruption case has hit a stumbling block against Koko. And this is after Star Witness, an engineering multinational, ABB, made a U-turn admitting that it has no evidence against Koko. And this was said in papers that were filed in the Joburg High Court. And those are your Sunday papers this afternoon. Let's go to the story now. The leaders of Australia, India, Japan, and the United States have announced plans for new security initiatives in the Indian Ocean. Outgoing US President Joe Biden hosted his counterparts from the Quad group of countries, which was established due to shared concerns about China. They also discussed the Quad Cancer Moonshot Initiative, which aims to reduce the number of lives lost to cancer in the Indo-Pacific. Quad countries will promote increased HPV vaccinations to fight cervical cancer, increase access to screenings, and expand treatment options. to this now. The South African Weather Service issued a level 8 warning for more disruptive weather as snowfall blanketed on the N3 highway, particularly between Warden and Tugela Plaza in KwaZulu-Natal, leaving motorists stranded for hours. The KwaZulu-Natal Disaster Management Centre convened a joint operations centre meeting on Saturday morning to discuss relief efforts for trapped motorists in the form of soup kitchens, shelter and blankets. To find out more on the latest on that weather situation in KwaZulu-Natal, we cross to SABC News reporter Mlondi Khadebe, who is joining us from Howick this afternoon. Mlondi, hi to you. It was, of course, difficult conditions yesterday when we spoke. How are things looking today?
Thank you very much, Sebenzile. Today we are in Escort, just further up the N3 in KwaZulu-Natal. But as we were coming from Durban, when you pass the Howick area, we did see that the trucks have been moved in that route. And when you get to Balgawen, you start to see that there was a snow, but it seemingly is defrosting now. But we are in Escort now. Also trying to get hold of people that were stuck and left stranded on Friday night. But next to me is Hassan Shazi from the Alimdad Foundation, who was also stuck during that time. Thank you very much for your time. Briefly, if you can just tell us your experience on Friday night and what help did you guys give to other motorists?
Thank you very much to the SABC for giving us the opportunity. Our Al-Imdad Foundation teams were also coming from Cape Town, where we were doing other programs coming towards Escort on Friday night. It was around 8:30 where we were also stranded on the highway. But what we experienced was the hardship and the struggling that the motorists had on the highway, because most of them were elderly and most of them were children, especially, and also women who also needed sanitary requirements and also water and meals, which was the biggest requirements of the day. But as the next day came, there was a great need for food because people were sleeping in their cars for the whole night. Then on the next morning, we activated our teams from Escort. As you know, the Al-Imdad Foundation is part of the disaster management teams and also part of N3 TC, which is the REM systems that overlooks the N3 right till Durban Park. So our team responded with much needed interventions such as blankets, baby blankets. We also did thermal blankets, hygiene packs. We did bottled water. We also did fruit packs as well as sandwiches for the stranded motorists so that they could have something to eat, as most of them did not eat for the night. But what we experienced in the night was very difficult, as most of the stranded motorists did not have any toilets to go to, so it was a very difficult situation. Then some people were panicking because it was the first time they were on the highway with no assistance, with no water. But the greatest need was food, which the Al-Imdad Foundation has assisted the motorists on the highway. But we thank the N3TC and also the REM system and the emergency services on the highway. Even though it was accessible to get to the people that were stranded, they tried their best to assist the Al-Imdad Foundation to get to those that were affected by the snow. As you can see today, most of the snow is starting to clear up, but our Al-Imdad Foundation teams are still on standby to see if there is a need. But beside the responding to midway to tell Hitcoat, the Al-Imdad Foundation also responded on the other side, also from Utugela toll right till Van Renen, right till Montrose, where they were also stranded motorists. But beside giving assistance with interventions, the Al-Imdad Foundation also received distress calls from other motorists on the road. We needed assistance to be taken to places of safety and also accommodation. The Al-Imdad Foundation also responded in that regard. Thank you.
We understand that also other motorists were basically taking medication, so they did not have enough medication. What assistance did Al-Imdad provide?
With regards to the medication, the Al-Imdad Foundation, what the assistance we did was to assist them to get access to get to the hospital. Like there was one patient that was suffering from a high pressure, so we tried to access midway on the road so they could get to Hitcoat, the nearest town, which is Hitcoat and Moy River. So that was the best we could do from our side. But with regards to the emergency services, they were also activated, but the challenge was the accessibility. Even though there was good access to the patient, but it was blocked on the middle, so the nearest place for the patients to go was Hitcoat, which was done so that they could get to the hospital.
The other issue is that, was there any deaths that was experienced during that time?
On this side of Midway Rattle Head Court, we did not experience any death, but what I received reports from this side of the N3, going from Utugela, Rattle, Van Renen, and Olis Hook. That's where there were reports of death, but we still have to confirm with regards to with the emergency services how many people lost their lives.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
He's telling us more about the issues that happened on that night. Also, there's also a motorist that experienced that hardship during that time to be on the road when it's wet and cold. Can we have your name, sir, for your record?
My name is Clinton Blatho. So myself and my family were headed down to Durban for our vacation for the week, and all was going well, and we got about 8 k's from Midway, and we came to a complete standstill, for which we thought was an accident. I mean, the snow it was coming down, but traffic was moving. But however, as we stopped moving, the snow just started building up and building up. So myself and a German gentleman took on our feet, and we walked ahead to try and see what was happening. And we crossed over to the other side to check with the other motorists, and they said there wasn't in fact an accident. It was just simply the snow, and people then could no longer drive. So I informed my family that we were going to be there for the night, which we were until 10 a.m. yesterday. We were stuck in the snow. It was cold. It went to -10 through the night. My vehicle was running throughout the night. And then we were getting dangerously low on diesel. And then there was a farmer, well, he's not a farmer actually, he's part of the search and rescue, and he had a tractor. His name is Wayne. I didn't get his full name, but our sincere thanks goes out to Wayne. We have his number. We're going to reach out to him personally as a family and just thank him for his assistance. They pulled us out with a tractor through the snow, and we were able to make it back to Midway with very little diesel. And I think that was my biggest concern, because the diesel, keeping the engine running, keeping the car as warm as it was, the engine had been running for over 14 hours and was sitting on cold. Firstly, my sincere thanks goes to Wayne, and then second of all, Al Idad Foundation. They came to my family with blankets and beanies, which was needed. It was exceptionally cold, and they gave us water as well, and I believe they gave out food packs. We were fortunate enough to get out early enough, but the food packs that were issued, for someone to come out and put their own life at risk, they were in their own vehicles. My sincere thanks goes out to them, and we're truly appreciative for that.
Your experience also today, we did see that you were in mud. Can you just tell us more about that?
Yes, so yesterday after fueling up and looking for something warm, being cold, we went into Escort. We had a wimpy breakfast, and then we started looking for accommodation, and there was no accommodation. So everyone had taken up accommodation, and we eventually found a place called Antbear out in the mountains. And they did warn us. They said, listen, the roads, guys, are not ideal, but we were looking for a bed and warm water. So we got out there. We got stuck just before their gate, so they pulled us out with a tractor. Only to get there, they had no electricity, no water, but thankfully we had a bed and we had a fireplace, so we stayed warm through the night. And then this morning we chose to leave to continue to our vacation, and we headed out on the dirt road towards Moy. We ended up getting stuck there too with 3 other vehicles. I ended up being completely covered in mud. I'm half dressed right now in something what I've changed into. Now we headed out to Midway, and we've just washed up, and we're going to head on to our vacation, hoping everything is all good from there.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for what you're doing and getting the communication out there.
Okay, thanks. The challenges are still there here in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, because some motorists have tried to get accommodation, but the biggest challenge now is that when you get to the accommodation, there's no electricity and there's no connectivity in some areas of this province. Back to you in studio.
What an incredible story there. Mlondi, quick one from you. We are hearing how, NGOs and these organizations were able to come out and assist. Did we see any government agencies do the same, that they were able to come out in any way and support the motorists who were stranded and stuck in their vehicles?
Because we couldn't get yesterday, we couldn't get to Moi River area, but we understand that the municipality in Moi River was also assisting, as well as the Red Cross Foundation in that area. In Howick, also the mayor and Umngeni local municipality were providing a soup and a coffee to the truck drivers that were parked on the N3 yesterday. So it seems as if local municipality did participate, but at this point in time, we are not sure about the provincial government, especially the Department of Social Development, maybe to try and assist them. Even though yesterday we did speak to the MEC for Transport, who was also on the road assisting with the graders to try and remove the ice from the roads. So everyone was playing his own role at where he can do a little as to try and assist the residents or motorists on the road.
Those, of course, who are planning to travel still are being urged to stay home if they can. As a final one, Mlonda, are you able to give us a sense of which of the I suppose parts of the N3 or which areas, in fact, are still quite heavily affected and work is still being done to clear the path for motorists?
The major route that is still a challenge, according to the RTI in KwaZulu-Natal, they told us that the Van Riebeeck Pass is still a big challenge to motorists, even though it's partially opened. But it's not safe to drive in that part because it's still icy. But other routes are N11 in Newcastle, between Newcastle and Ladysmith, is been open, and all the other roads that were closed yesterday, like your R617 in Underberg, is also open, but the Sunny Pass border is still closed, according to KwaZulu-Natal RTI.
Mlondi Khadebe, thank you very much for that report. Coming to us live from Escort there. One thing is for sure that the gentleman's children will never forget this vacation. What an incredible story there. And of course, shout out to Wayne and all the other volunteers that assisted the many who were stranded on the roads. To this now, Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, says her department will do everything it can to ensure that the image and reputation of Unisa remains respected globally. The minister adds that the department will act swiftly in addressing challenges at the institution, including stopping the unnecessary legal battles that is costing the institution. The university faces allegations of maladministration and is being sued for 50 million rands by former Deputy Vice-Chancellor and current council member, Professor David Mosoma.
The governance of Unisa is still under the spotlight, this after claims of abuse of power by the management of the institution, led by the Principal and Vice-Chancellor Professor Puleng Lekambula. Weeks ago, a former registrar of the institution, Professor Stuart Motata, raised concerns about the alleged purging of senior staff. Motata also alleged that there was something untoward about the way he was fired by the institution. He said the harassment case against him was concocted to get rid of him. Motata further said the accuser was paid to lie under the disguise of receiving a settlement of over R500,000 rand.
This thing it's a bribe disguised as a settlement.
The institution was also accused of sitting on the investigation reports that painted a bad picture about the university. During an earlier interview with the public broadcaster, Lekambula rubbished the allegations of corruption, maladministration and breach of procurement processes under her watch. She said the act by the institution to take the Musia report on review was the right call.
The report is not representing the true facts of the performance, of the financials, of the quality of the professorate, of the developments, even of my leadership.
On the PwC report, Lekambula said she had just received the report and was still going through it. This despite the Department of Higher Education writing to the institution earlier requesting information about some investigation reports, including the PwC report. Another issue involving the university is its former Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor David Mosoma, suing the institution for 50 million rands. Mosoma claimed he was overlooked for the top position in 2010. He alleges that he was the preferred candidate but lost out to Professor Mandla Makhanya. The university's vice-chancellor denied any knowledge of this issue.
I don't know about it, and therefore I'm not going to comment. Yes, I'm not going to comment. I'm telling you the truth. I don't know about it, and I'm not going to comment.
The new Minister of Higher Education has also weighed in on the current situation at Unisa.
We don't want to tarnish the image of this institution, which is well known in other countries as one of the best of the best. So my approach is going to be, I need to sit down with the council of that institution and get to understand some of the challenges that they're facing.
She said the department would intervene speedily and raised concerns about Unisa's legal bill.
We should act swiftly to stop unnecessary costly legal battles in our systems broadly as the PSET system. And we are indeed committing to say we are going to come up with possible solutions and focus on the stability of our higher education institutions, because this is what we want. We need to just focus on our mandate as it is derived in our Section 29 of the Constitution, not to be preoccupied with legal battles. So we're trying to move towards that direction.
The ministry has vowed to deal with any challenges at the institution soon to ensure Unisa remains a proud institution. Ntantla Khatlani, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The University of South Africa Vice-Chancellor still remains in her position despite an ultimatum given until the 18th of September to suspend Professor Buleng Nkambula. A letter sent to Higher Education and Training Minister Nobuhle Nkabane and the members of the Unisa Council on the 9th of September cites several allegations of misappropriation of funds, dishonesty, corruption, fraud and undermining the rule of law at Unisa. In the letter, Mulala attorneys who act on behalf of a certain Tshepo Mofokeng warned that they held instruction to approach the High Court on an urgent basis to suspend Nkambula pending the possible review application. We're now joined by Dean of the Faculty of Education at Stellenbosch University, Professor Mbulengeni Madiba. Thank you very much, Professor, for your time with us this afternoon. You would have heard the minister in that clip we just played saying that they need to protect the reputation of the institution or ensure that it isn't damaged. Hasn't that ship sailed already, given this very public spat and all of the allegations against the incumbent VC?
No, thanks so much, SABC and all your viewers. Yeah, you see, Unisa is a great institution. I spent 15 years there. I worked there for 15 years. All my degrees were done there. I did my honors, my masters, and my PhD there. So there's no doubt that Unisa is a big institution. And when things like this are happening, allegations, blame game and so on, when they do happen, they do tarnish the image of the institution. And I think the department will find a solution to this problem in one way or another, because there are issues there. I mean, there are issues that were identified by Professor Musia's report, and which I think that should have been addressed.
Of course, that particular report by Professor Musia was taken on review. But let's go back, as you say, that there have been a number of issues. We saw the failed bid last year by the then Higher Education Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande, announcing plans to place the university under administration. This was in October last year already. This latest effort to remove the VC from her position seems to suggest that she is the problem here, that she is the reason why the institution is embattled. What is your view on that?
Yeah, look, I think there are things that you cannot deny that were raised in the report. That if you look at the issue of refurbishment, that was really went way over what was estimated. The allowance, that was the cost of a car, that went up again way out near 2 million. So I think those are, to me, are real issues that were identified in the report. But again, you know, it's very difficult for the ministry to remove a vice chancellor, you need to follow procedure. There is law. You need to charge the VC. You need to subject the VC to a disciplinary hearing. That must also, establish evidence whether indeed the person is wrong. Remember, there's also governance issues of the council also.
Professor Madiba, let me just interrupt your thought there. We're struggling a bit with your line. Let's sort it out. Then we'll continue this conversation in just a moment. Stay with us. Heritage Month is not only about showing off the richness of South African culture and tradition through an exceptional adornment of colourful traditional wear, but it's also a perfect time to revisit the indigenous food that the country has to offer. The founder of Gogo Foods, which makes canned morogo, has made it easy for us to include amaranth leaves in our diet.
Ricardo Hood grew up eating morogo that was prepared by his grandmother. And as he grew older, the scarcity of the dish forced him to think of ways to make morogo conveniently available all year round. Amaranth leaves have been celebrated for centuries across various cultures for their remarkable health benefits.
The initial seed only came about once I met a farmer in the Free State who had been planting the product on a commercial scale, selling to the mines. And when I saw that, I thought, if you could plant it commercially, there could be a possibility that you could preserve it and make it available to the market. And that initial idea came about 2017, 2018. And I then spent 2018, 2019 researching the feasibility, seeing how you could preserve it. And in 2020, we got a breakthrough on our canning.
A Food Lovers Market Enterprise Supplier Development Program catapulted his business to the next level. But unfortunately, COVID happened, setting his plans back. With the recovery, he was able to bounce back and test the market again. And as with many innovations that have come onto the market, Hood says convincing buyers can be a challenge.
When we got to shelf, I thought that the uptake would be easy, much more easier, because most South Africans do know the product. But it's the first time that it's been canned in the world. So making people aware of that, making the consumer aware of that was a bit of a challenge. I recall while we were doing tastings that one of the ladies said to me, this product cannot be done in South Africa, because she was very skeptical. She asked if it's from China, if the product is from China. But so there is a bit of resistance, which I did not anticipate. But I do understand because it's new. So people have that misconception. Also, I think for a lot of us, having our own indigenous foods on a commercial level, people do not expect. So we had to overcome that.
Hood says changes in the food market, like the canning of foods, needs entrepreneurs like himself to work hard to convince consumers of the advantages.
While testing, I used to buy packets from street vendors. At that stage, it cost me 10 Rand a packet. And when you cook down the product and compared to one can, because my can is cooked, it's ready to eat, the volume of product in the can is actually more than the cooked product. So there is value to be gained from the canned product. What I'm also proud of is that it's almost commercializing an indigenous crop, so that crop should always be available going into the future. And it then also pairs what we grew up eating. So you can almost conceptualize the value in what we ate and what we have now conveniently available. And none of the nutrition has been lost in the canning process.
Despite its unconventional packaging, Hood says there are a number of ways that Koko Morogo can feature in dishes this Heritage Weekend.
In the KZN recently, we came across a lady that had done cream sauce with mushrooms and then cooked some prawn in that and then added the can, and that was awesome. I typically, on a bride day, I would make Pop-Tart. So as you usually make your Pop-Tart, the way you make it, I'm just adding a can of the traditional Morogo. It just tends to go better. And then, you know, for convenience, when I was still a bachelor, I would usually cook mince and then cook down the Morogo in the mince. But now it's much faster, much more convenient. You cook your mince, you add a can in. It cuts down on the time. You still have the same nutritional content in the food, and it's just much more easier, much more faster.
Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, let's try again with the Professor Mbulengeni Madiba. We're talking about the University of South Africa, and we struggled there with the line. We have him back now. Thank you very much, Prof, for your patience with us. Just before we struggled with the line, you were just unpacking some of the steps that need to be taken in order to suspend a VC. Perhaps wrap up the thought for us, and then we'll continue with the discussion. Of course, that ultimatum and that deadline, the 18th of September, has since passed, where some members of a council sent a letter on the 9th of September calling for the suspension of the VC of Unisa, Professor Puleng Linkambula.
Yes, Sebenzile, thanks so much. You know, what I was saying is that this matter is long overdue, and that needs to be resolved because it's not good for the institution, it's not also good for the country, it's also not good for the people involved. So I was saying that what the minister really need to do is to make sure that this matter now is followed up, because the report of Professor Musia is very, very clear. It identified what he regarded as problems identified at Unisa. So what needs to be done is to, if they really have prima facie evidence, is to charge the council. The council is subjected to disciplinary hearing. And then she's given the room to also, explain, as she was saying, she's innocent. Then at the end of the process, then you can suspend her. Because it's not, you can dismiss her. But it's not easy that you can just dismiss her without going through the disciplinary hearing process. They can suspend her, and then from there, subject her to a disciplinary hearing.
How does the still relatively new Minister of Higher Education, Minister Nobuhle Nkabane, take this on, right? The VC has been in the role since January of 2021. We're nearing the end of 2024 now. Some of the issues that we saw in that letter as well speak about her suitability or lack thereof of, in fact, having taken on the role in any case. And then now, of course, there are these issues that emerged from the report itself. We will also remember various reports covering this issue and how some of the criticism leveled against Professor Linkambula also took a very gendered nature and certainly not in a pleasant way. References to expenditure on redoing the home she'll be in and all sorts of things. So there are a number of issues and certainly the public nature of this spat has also gotten a bit ugly as well. How do you think the minister should best approach this, also given the history of this matter where her predecessor had also, called essentially for her suspension, at least in October of last year. That didn't happen. You also don't want a case where the incumbent is seen to necessarily be inheriting issues of her predecessor and then just running with them and taking them on as her own.
Yeah, well, the new minister has no excuse. I think she really needs to address the matter. I mean, that is her responsibility. The fact that the matter was handled by the previous minister, it does not mean that really the matter is not urgent. So I think she really needs to start where the previous ministers have started. I think it ended when there was issues of review, and then if the dates were given, and there's no solution at the moment. So she needs to take the matter forward.
The Minister Nzimande, in fact, had wanted to appoint an administrator. One of his main aims was for the institution to be afforded a period of about 12 months to implement the remedial measures under the supervision of the independent person appointed by the erstwhile minister. Would this measure, had it been implemented, have resolved these issues that are being raised now in their entirety?
Yeah, I think, when you look at the Unisa issue, there are two levels. There is the issue at governance level, that has to do with council. And then there is also management, that has to do with the Vice-Chancellor. So at that time, it was very clear from the report, Musia's report, that the council at that time, the council of Unisa from 2015 to 2021 when she was appointed. That time it was a very difficult time for Unisa in terms of the governance. So when she was appointed, there were already other issues there from the council. So there is the decision for the minister to say we need to bring an administrator, because if the council is there, the council provide oversight. It is the governing body of the university. But now, if you have got a problem with the council itself, then definitely the option is to bring in somebody from outside who will have all the powers of management and also the governance. So I think that was the idea then, that a new person should come in. But unfortunately, that could not happen because of, this decision was challenged by court, and it was interdicted, and so on and so on. But at the moment, the situation is not improving. I think that is what is a concern. And the minister now needs to find a solution to that.
Indeed, talking about that report, the university is seeking to overturn it by the report by the independent assessor, Professor Musia, as well as another report by a ministerial task team headed by Professor Vincent Mapai. The reports found financial and other maladministration of a serious nature at the university, which undermined its effective functioning. And these are very serious allegations here. Did any of these find that the VC, Professor Linkambula, personally benefited from these activities?
Yeah, look, I don't have the detail of that report, but I know the Musia one was it was clear that she spent the money that was allocated for refurbishing, went way ahead over what was allocated, and the money that was allocated for the car also, I think the budget, it went to close to $2 million. So I think those are real issues. The only difference is when the VC will say, no, the council has given me was aware, and the council now says, no, we were not aware. So, but those happen. So I think what we're dealing with here is ethical leadership. I think that's what we are really needing in higher education today. You need ethical leadership that really needs to be accountable, that needs to be transparent, that really needs to be fair, accountable in whatever thing that they do, that act with integrity. Because once you've got all these allegations around a leader, so that shows that, ethical leadership is lacking. Irrespective of reality, we can talk about this and that, but I think what we need, maybe Unisa could say, invest like Unisa and many other universities in South Africa, we need ethical leadership. All these things really will need to be, not to be said around our leaders.
Professor Madiba, we are out of time, unfortunately, but just as a parting shot, what do you make of the role of the council in this matter? The council has been attacked by some as not acting accordingly. Do you see them as being a part of the problem in any way? And if so, can it or should it be dissolved? In addition to that, your assessment really of the manner in which the professor, the VC of Unisa, Linkambula, has in fact handled all of this, and the impact that this has potentially had on the institution and its very important mandate that it has to fulfill.
Yeah, you see, council must provide governance. It provides oversight. As I indicated, it's there. It's there in the public out there that the council from 2015 to 2021, maybe until the time she was appointed, the council of that time, I think really it really leaves much to be desired. So I don't know the current the council now, but definitely there are problems there. If the council is not really providing oversight, it's not doing its responsibility, definitely I think the council needs to also to be dissolved.
And on the, I suppose as the last one this time, on the impact, right, of when you think about the core mandate of the institution, the mandate of learning, of teaching, research, development as well here. And when we started this conversation, we spoke about how the reputation of the institution, in fact, can be salvaged, given that it's already been damaged. How do you save it, if at all possible? And I suppose whose responsibility is it to do so?
You see, it's the management. You see, the problem, if there are problems with the management. If the morale is low, I mean, there have been problems with the registrar, many other things. It affects the morale of the staff It affects their teaching. It affects their research. It affects, recently, Unisa has been, you might have heard the story of students, about over 100 students copying from ChatGPT and so on and so on. So you really need strong academic leadership, not just management, also strong academic leadership that is well organized to ensure that there is quality. There is quality there is academic integrity in what the institution is offering. So that, unfortunately, when there is a situation like this, when there's a lot of uncertainty around the institution, that also affects the research and teaching and learning.
We'll park it there this afternoon. Let me thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. That was the Dean of the Faculty of Education at Stellenbosch University, Professor Mbulengeni Madiba. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. That is how we wrap up the first hour. We'll have more for you at the top of the hour right here in the week ahead. Stay with us. The icy weather takes a toll on the country's homeless. The community of Tshwane alleges that some mines operating in the area benefit from illegal mining by buying minerals from illegitimate mining operations, blending it with legitimately extracted minerals before export. And Al Jazeera TV says Israeli forces have stormed its bureau in the West Bank's Ramallah city with a military order to close it for 45 days. Thank you very much for staying with us right here on The Week Ahead on the SABC News channel. We are live with you from our Johannesburg studios. I am Sebenzile Nkambule. We'd like to invite you to participate in our conversations. Give us a ring, will you? Our studio line is 011-714-0680, 0681 or 0682. Welcome. We start here this hour. The icy weather has been taking a toll on the country's homeless. In Limpopo, they say keeping warm while remaining indoors are not options accessible to them.
Plummeting temperatures throughout the country continue to persist. In Polokwane, some of the homeless people say the cold snap is affecting them as they do not have shelter. A group of homeless men reside near a stream in Penina Park suburb. They do not have basic food items as they rely on handouts. They have lit a fire in order to keep warm.
It is too cold. We just try to keep warm as best as we can under the bridge. It is the only thing we can think of. We are hopeful to find a solution, but for now we are safe.
Across the road, 55-year-old Macy Poe holds a board with a plea for help. She too is homeless. An emotional Poe says the cold weather has worsened her health condition.
I'm asking for help from any good Samaritan. It is too cold. I can't walk properly. I'm in so much pain. I'm asking for anyone who can help me with food.
In
the Central Business District, some of the homeless men say the cold weather conditions have negatively impacted whatever small opportunity they had of getting assistance from the kindness of strangers.
This cold doesn't keep us well because as we live on hustling, to eat for us we have to go like wash cars, do something for us. So when it's cold like this, people don't come even in town. People, they are scared to come out of the car.
The homeless have asked for a municipal shelter to which they can dwell in during freezing weather. SABC News, Polokwane.
Further afield, Al Jazeera TV says Israeli forces have this morning stormed its bureau in the West Bank's Ramallah city with a military order to close it for 45 days. The Qatar-based channel aired live footage of the Israeli troops storming the channel's office and handing over a military closure order to one of the staff before the broadcast was disrupted. Israeli military vehicles were also seen outside the channel's office in Ramallah. In May, Israeli authorities raided a Jerusalem hotel room used by Al Jazeera as its office after the government decided to shut down the broadcaster's local operations, saying it threatened national security. As we celebrate Heritage Month, traditional healers bemoan what they say are limitations to their constitutional rights to practice their religion. Under the prohibitive apartheid era Witchcraft Suppression Act, African healers were prohibited from practicing their religion. Now, despite the current constitution, which guarantees equality and freedom for all religions, African healers say they still cannot fully express their spirituality. In the Free State, healers say they continue to be denied access to sacred sites such as Nkunkumoy, Motolong and Mantupa, which carry historical and spiritual significance central to their religion. Ntsontsokolo Stemere compiled this report for us.
Traditional healers consider caves, amongst other natural sites, as sacred. It is where they perform rituals such as cleansing and believe that their prayers have been answered. They also say they find healing in these sacred sites. A 71-year-old Khawuda Mofokeng is a traditional healer. He says he was summoned by his ancestors to visit the Nkukumu caves in the 1980s. He says he visited the caves accompanied by his uncle and discovered his ancestral calling.
When I got home the same night, I had a dream telling me that I saw the road and next time I should go to Nkokomoi alone, as they don't want to be disturbed. In the morning when I woke up, I took some of my belongings and went back. And when I arrived there, I was alone in the cave. That is where I started seeing miracles. I was alone, but I heard people talking. When I tried to listen attentively, I could not understand what they are saying. During the sunset, I saw a smoke. There were many things that are happening. That night I slept, but all of a sudden, I felt a cold breeze, and I tried to cover my body with the blanket that I had. An old man arrived and pulled my blanket, telling me that they want me to sleep without the blanket. I slept. Suddenly I was hot. I was even sweating. An old man arrived and told me that he bathed Bafokeng, and that is when I saw that this place is sacred.
During the 80s and the 90s, the sacred sites were open for public use and were accessible to traditional healers. But 30 years after democracy, healers are now denied entry. The young generation of healers can no longer fully benefit from their use.
re na le bafu be re ba patang le ka hara motse ka mo ba bangata hampe e leng ha bana ba banyane go bo 15 16 ba lorang ka mo go to go ba e mono ba o tseba me.
Many people die because their healing is in this place. Even the youngsters are dreaming of these sites. They are instructed to visit them so that they can know their culture. To Africans, tradition is foundation of their lives. But the Bible came and gripped that from us. My request is that such places should be opened. Nkukumui has many things people grew up in there. That place is way bigger how other people describe it. It is an ancestral place. A white man saw smoke and started shooting. As a result, he died there. People with spiritual gifts are not free and we are not accepted anywhere. When they see you wearing beads, people feel are threatened. But that is okay as long as the government can recognize our work and accept us. Those places should be opened and spiritual believers should be given the respect they deserve.
Empa batho bana banang le ntwena ya tlholego ha o fika montlo fana gore o haile ntlo ya hae mono ge bitsa mogogo wa badimo ka fana o haile khonenyane mono jardinyane na enyane batho ba ya ba fitlile mono ha hona le ba tshwanetseng go tla keta kgwedi mono ha ba kgone go dula ba qete kgwedi.
Other traditional healers attest to the healing they say they received after visiting the caves.
A taking a chance to etsa tsena tso thwinki di etse go rapela ha o ntse o rapela mo ho ntse ba etsa tshebetso tsa bona ba ntse ba o lokisa o ntse etsa jwang.
I found healing in Maute because I had to visit the caves and do what I was supposed to do, to pray. When you are praying, ancestors are also at work. They are preparing you so that you get healing. I came back healed because even the headache and vomiting stopped. I was thin like a stick and I was underweight. Even the bones were visible. I did not have breasts, but after some time, people that saw me when I first arrived were amazed by the changes they saw and stated that there is healing in this place. Those mountains have power, especially when you believe as we believe in our gifts. I was sick and I ended up mad. You see healing, but in the end you become a traditional healer. You heal people. It is heartbreaking when we see sacred places closed while they have power to heal. Our forefathers knew that even cow sounds were heard in those places, but they could not see them. Things used to happen easy. All our requests whenever we visit Nkukumui, they were granted. For instance, if you are a client that struggles to bear children, when you take them to Nkukumui, the children's side, they are able to conceive.
Healers believes that this restricts their freedom to practice their culture as Africans, as no boundaries should be placed for them to access natural spaces in the land of their birth.
Let them call us. They are denying us access to the caves. We once spoke to the former Free State Premier Mantombela about the closure of the caves and told her that there are things that require us to go to these caves. Our ancestors are present there. I begged her to speak to those who are in charge to open these caves because we are forced to pay, where else in the past we did not pay fee entries. My mother was a traditional healer and we used to go there without paying for anything. Why should I pay entry fee in those caves? They don't even know how those caves came about. Caves are places where our ancestors reside. It's nature, but we have to pay for access.
While the South African Constitution accounts respect and dignity to all cultures, healers believe they continue to suffer discrimination. They demand the review of restrictive practices that impede on their rights to practice their spirituality. Nanzogolo Stemmer, SABC News.
Thank you for staying with us to this now. Tshwane Mayor Celia Brink is expected to know his fate in the coming week as a motion of no confidence has been tabled against him, raising questions about the viability of the multi-party coalition in charge of the nation's capital. His future at the helm of the municipality will be known in less than a week when the monthly council meeting approaches. Should he be dismissed, he will be the capital's fourth Democratic Alliance mayor to resign before the completion of their tenure. To talk to us more about this, we're joined by political analyst Dr. Levin Doe. Thank you very much, Dr. Doe, for your time with us this afternoon. In a briefing held earlier this week, Brink listed the financial reforms implemented in his 18 months in charge. Brink painted the picture of a municipality on the up. Is this truly the case? And does his performance in the 18 months he's been in office actually matter when it seems that it's backroom discussions really that determine whether or not the incumbent stays on or whether his tenure will need to be cut short?
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. It is not about the performance of the mayor. It is not about the financial status of the municipality. It is also not about the party that is in charge. It is about the dynamics in the coalition arrangement. Whether you are performing or underperforming, when a decision is taken for you to be removed, it would actually happen. So this tells us that when you have got coalition arrangements in the South African context, and particularly in the metros, the change of leadership would happen at any given time. And that is exactly what we should expect with the city of Tshwane.
Brink says he is confident that he will in fact survive the motion of no confidence. And the DA is also hoping that the ANC will save him. What are your views on this? And what sort of dynamics are we likely in fact to see on whether or not he's saved or not?
Coalition partners would always give confidence to those who are in charge that they are going to support them. But at the same time, if there are discussions that are going on with the ANC, there is nothing wrong with that. But the issue is that the dynamics at national level and local level are quite different. So the arrangement that the DA has in the city of Tshwane has nothing to do with the ANC. That coalition was created mainly to isolate the ANC from power. And if indeed they want this to be in line with what is happening at national level, that will be a new discussion. But the point here is that it might not only be the ANC that has to take that decision. We have got Action SAU here, which is the party that is quite not happy or angry with the Democratic Alliance, and they will want to do all that they could to ensure that the Democratic Alliance gets punished.
It is at the local government level where you really hope that the needs of the people are front and center at all times, but seemingly that isn't the case here. And as we continue to see a revolving door of mayors in the nation's capital, what sort of impact has that had on the residents of the city of Tshwane? I don't know if you've been there in a while. Where is the level of service delivery? There were issues with water and so on. But of course, these are also issues that we see across the country. But can in fact one draw a very direct correlation between the revolving door or the changes that we see at that level of leadership in the city and the level of service delivery or lack thereof in Tshwane?
The constant change of political leadership does not only affect negatively the citizens. Indeed, the ordinary citizens that are supposed to get the much needed services get negatively affected. At the same time, those that are working in the administration in the city are also affected by the political changes in the city, because It will therefore mean that new political heads are going to come up with their own programs. There is going to be new arrangements of the committees of the city and new political heads, and that requires a lot of shifting around of responsibilities by the workers. It also affects different political parties themselves because on a regular basis, new faces are coming in. They have to be reorientated into the work, and that takes time. Therefore, these constant changes have got huge negative implications on the entire administration and the running of the city.
Where is Action SA in all of this? I mean, they've been quite critical, in fact, in the state of play. If we look at how the city of Tshwane is, in fact, configured here, and I suppose the disagreement or the fight, if you will, between themselves and the DA, it has also led us to this particular point. What's in it for them? What do they stand to benefit from this, and what sort of outcome with this call for the mayor, in fact, to be removed? What sort of outcome would work in Action SA's favour?
Action SA has been an active member of the Moon Pact. And you will know that with the Moon Pact, the arrangement was that these parties should cooperate, work together, and ensure that they isolate the ANC and the EFF. Now, some of those that were in the Moon Pact have decided to go and join the Government of National Unity, and that has left Action SA being isolated from both the Moon Pact and the Government of National Unity. And my view is that Action SA has actually realized that they can still make an impact in the South African politics, and that's why they started to come back, join hands with the ANC. They have started their mission, which has been to remove the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. That has happened, and they said that their next stop is the city of Tshwane. What we're actually waiting to see is as to whether indeed this mission is going to be accomplished. And the biggest possibility is that the city of Tshwane could be having a new mayor right this week.
It's taken a while, isn't it? I mean, this is certainly not the first motion of confidence being brought here. This is, in fact, the third. So, what is that a function of? Is it perhaps a fighting power, if you will, from the DA and the Mayor Brink in trying to stave off this particular attack? Or are there other dynamics at play which maybe even may delay this third one that we're looking at, or this current one at least?
It is about ensuring that you stay in power. It's about ensuring that those that are with you in the coalition are always happy. And if indeed you run programs that are acceptable to all coalition partners, then the coalition is going to remain strong. Equally, those that are outside the coalition would be doing their best to ensure that the coalition does fail. They will also be trying their best to get some of those that are in the coalition to be on their side, because the main focus is on the numbers and ensuring that the government does not last. Now, with the arrival of Action SA having their relations with the DA sought, the possibilities that Action SA will be teaming up with the ANC and other smaller parties, and that could create a situation where the political leadership could easily be changed.
Let me bring in a viewer wants to weigh in. Richard, you're on the line from Free State. Hi.
How are you, ma'am?
Good. Thanks, Richard. Your thoughts?
My thought around this issue of the changing of the mayor from Tshwane, I think this is not an isolated incident of political parties changing and chopping mayors left, right, and center. This issue is a national issue, and so it must reflect to the provincial level also. We are barely 6 months or 100 days in office. There is already split that we can see as the community. There is no issue that is discussed to solve the problem of service delivery to people. The issues that are currently on the table is still in fighting between political parties that wants to fill their pockets. They have nothing to do with service delivery. It has always been an issue of political interference when service deliveries must be implemented. So it doesn't matter if Mr. Salia Brink is there or is not there or a new mayor comes. Like the gentleman just said now, even if the new one comes in, there's new office bearers coming in with new ideas. 3 months down the line, another leader comes in, takes office with new office bearers. There will never be service delivery. This is an issue that must be addressed. We as the population of South Africa, we are tired of people that we put in power, who as they think, change and chop, just to fill their pockets. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That was Richard on the line there from the Free State. Dr. Ndo, your thoughts on that, and maybe in addition to Richard's point there. I mean, we've also seen, if we just focus on the ANC in the province as well, where we've seen the ANC in Gauteng pushing back at least to some of what we're seeing happening at a national level. Is this their chance to consolidate in the city of Tshwane in ways that they've managed to do in Johannesburg? If you look at what's happening in Ekurhuleni, is this their opportunity now?
The concerns raised by Richard are the concerns that are being raised by many other citizens in the different metros. The unfortunate part is that whether we raise these concerns or not, those that are in charge would always be ensuring that they constantly get access to power, and the only way to do so is through these motions of no confidence. I can assure you that now, as we're speaking, the different parties in the city of Tshwane are busy negotiating. They are busy counting the numbers, because this is an exercise that is going to run until the meeting of council has to take place. So consolidation, it's necessary, it should happen, because any moment parties can be on the other hand or move on to the other one. So these people should constantly be ensuring that whatever they've planned has to be successful. And indeed, anything can still happen, because Brink and his party could still be doing a lot of work in ensuring that they hold on to power and the motion does not succeed.
We'll leave it there this afternoon. Thank you very much. That was political analyst Dr. Levindo talking to us about that motion of no confidence against Tshwane Mayor. May not be for much longer. Salia Brink, you're watching The Week Ahead. Stay with us, more on the other side of this. Sector should be a major contributor to the province's economy. The department is working on revitalizing small towns by giving necessary support to enable them to participate in the sector. The department has launched the Tourism Service Excellence Small Town Program to build a service excellence culture in the tourism sector value chain.
Parys is one of the tourist attraction destinations with so much to offer. The resort town is situated on the southern side of the Vaal River. Visitors have an opportunity to explore the local culture and outdoor activities, such as hiking and ziplining.
Definitely, you know what they say about Free State, it's not a go-through, but it's a go-to province. Definitely entertain and had an interesting day.
What an experience. It's my first time doing this. At my age, 53, I can't believe it. I managed to do this zip thing, and I had fun. The adrenaline was stimulated a little bit, and I enjoyed it.
The experience was amazing, and I enjoyed every moment, even though it was scary, but you know, you are always scared for first time, for everything. So, but in overall, I'm happy and I'm excited for the experience.
Tourism sector aims to bring potential economic development initiatives and create job opportunities which will respond to high unemployment rate, and also incorporating heritage and tourism.
The Free State is really giving some beautiful gems, the hidden gems for that matter. and they are always being found in the small towns that surrounds the Free State. Remember, we are also at the center of the country, and that makes us to be one of the destination area in the whole of the country. So for the past week we have been here in Fezile Dabi. We started at Faldam. At Faldam, it's where we're recognizing people who participated in the Excellency Service Program.
Due to inclement weather conditions, some outdoor activities were forced to be cancelled until further notice. Aphumelele Mdlalane, SABC News, Paris.
The promotion of indigenous language is taking center stage in Mbombela in Mpumalanga. Ingqayizivele Book Festival is meant to celebrate and preserve the rich culture of reading, especially in African languages. The festival brings authors, cultural experts, avid readers, and young people together.
Wordsmith gathered.
Be courageous by studying hard.
And from the mouth of babies.
Reading makes your mind bloom. Reading makes you smart.
Okay, I think reading is the important thing because you can achieve many things by reading.
Ingqayizivele Book Festival is fostering the culture of reading and encouraging mother tongue language while promoting writing and writers. Dr. Tuli Buddha has written 4 books. 3 are in her native Ndebele language.
It's very important to preserve our mother tongue. A lot of people in South Africa today do not see the importance of using our indigenous languages, and we forget that our indigenous languages, they carry our heritage and culture. I need my isiNdebele language. I need to express myself using isiNdebele.
Most of the authors are self-published and here to share ideas. Zukiswa Varna has been writing for 16 years with 12 books on her name, including children's books.
I think it's very important for authors to meet at book festivals because you get to interact with the with the reading audience, but in addition you also get to interact with other authors and you get to know what's working and what's not working. The same complaints that you might have, then you can come as a group and be able to critique everything and see what it is that you can help each other.
That books do not get through to people. Yes, writers write, readers need to read, but within the ecosystem, the books do not necessarily get through to the people. So we saw that there's a need. We even jumped borders. Festival Ikale Ngomsumbulugo. Going to schools, mostly primary schools within the area, the locations around Mbombela, setting up libraries, working in conjunction with the non-for-profit organization Siafunda.
And hope the festival will grow in leaps and bounds. Dumela Machoho, SABC News, Mbombela.
Thank you for staying with us. To this now, the community of Tlatlaganyane near Rustenburg in the northwest says the poor regulation of mining activities has allowed for criminality and illegal mining to take root in their area. The community says while many residents have attempted to apply for mining permits at the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, they believe permits are awarded to people from outside their village with little consideration for locals. The community also alleges that some mines operating in the area benefit from illegal mining by buying minerals from illegitimate mining operations, blending it with legitimately extracted minerals before export.
Unregulated chrome mining at an industrial scale has become the mainstay in this dusty village.
Costs that goes into establishing these illegal mining sites are very high. For example, a site establishment of a 50-tonner, you are looking at 50,000 plus. So if you take your weekly operations to extract 1,000 ton of chromium, you are looking at spending around 750,000 rands. So these are very highly sophisticated operations and they are run by big syndicates.
From just a few mining operations in the past, the area is now littered with numerous excavation sites after authorities issued mining permits for small-scale and artisanal mining.
Some residents wanted permits and they went to the DMRE and found out that there were already many permits issued for this area. And the owners of these permits are mostly from Mpumalanga, Gauteng and Limpopo.
Residents say this proliferation of mining activities also gave root to criminality and illegal mining.
The illegal minings that are happening here are affecting the development and the social labor plans of these mines, because the mines around here are tending to capitalize on not developing the community, the youth at large, each and everybody, because of the illegal mining that is happening here.
These illegal mines have led to an influx of illegal immigrants who have come and caused a lot of killings and conflicts, and we are not safe at all.
A mining investment specialist and developer of this online mining map, Amaranth CX, which maps mines and mineral deposits across the country, says government's failure to better regulate mining permits contributed to this situation.
Those were issued by the Klerksdorp office of the DMRE after some earlier prospecting rights had expired. And then what quickly happened was, like any gold rush, I suppose, with claims, there became a degree of competition and people weren't clear where one permit ended and another began, and then contractors went rogue and stopped paying the original community members, and it very quickly degenerated into a much more informal approach to mining. And as a consequence, it's very difficult to say that a crime is being committed, because if you arrive there to arrest someone, they can actually pull out a permit or a prospecting right and say, no, I'm legitimately mining here. And then it's difficult for the local policeman to actually say, well, you're mining off the original permit, for example. You'd have to get a mine surveyor out to prove that. And I think what it is much more than a criminal enterprise. It's an utter failure of regulation by the state, to the extent that the state no longer has sovereignty over the area to the immediate west of the Pilanesberg.
The lack of regulation or restrictions around the transportation, sale and processing of chrome has also made it nearly impossible to police mining operations in the area.
In South Africa, it's illegal for you to be in possession of an uncut diamond or unwrought gold or platinum. There's no equivalent with a commodity like chrome. You can buy a bucky load of chrome ore and sell it to me. There's nothing illegal about that, and especially if you come along and say, but I actually do have a mining permit. Here's the copy. It was issued by the department. And as a consequence, at my last count, there were 19 different commercial chrome processing plants that have been set up across the eastern and western limb of the Bushveld. And these chrome wash plant operators are the market for the raw chrome. They buy the raw chrome from all these operators. They then test it, they process it, they upgrade it, and then they send it off to City Deep or directly to the ports, and at City Deep it gets put in containers and exported to China. I think what I'm trying to stress is, as much as there's lots of criminality, the original source of this entire situation was the regulator issuing permits and then losing control.
The Department of Mineral Resources says it has issued several mining permits around the area, with more than 25 mining permits issued in respect to the Volgestrensnek farm. The department says it undertakes oversight on a regular basis in all licensed areas, as well as joint operations with the police on sites that are subject to illegal mining. Sintle Englihihi, SABC News, Tlatlaganyane.
Now, joining us to take the conversation further is David van Wyk of the Benchmark Foundation. Thank you very much for your time with us this afternoon, Mr. van Wyk. Your thoughts on where the conversation around illegal mining is. You would have heard from this report that we've just played that the illegal mining is quite rife, and one of the reasons is poor regulation of mining activities. Your view?
Well, first and foremost, we have been working with the DMRE and the National Association of Artisanal Miners to get regulations in place for small-scale and artisanal mining in this country. Now, the National Association of Artisanal Miners will tell you that it's very difficult for them to get a license, even though they are working with the department. And the department is running workshops at the moment for artisanal miners so that they could actually begin to mine responsibly. However, with the chrome mining, just like in Sekhukhune land, these operations are on a scale which you cannot really consider artisanal, because they use big industrial equipment, they use trucks, they use graders, they use all kinds of sophisticated means of digging up the chrome, which is quite close to the surface, which is why you are having the disturbances on the surface in that particular area. And I think that the previous speakers were correct in saying that the office in Klerksdorp is a problem. I used to work for the Premier's office in the Northwest Province for 10 years between 1994 and 2004, and the Klerksdorp office of DMRE was dismissed several times for corruption in that time. And I think it's time that the Klerksdorp office be investigated. You can't just issue these licenses. The people at the National Association of Artisanal Miners are all complaining that South African small-scale and artisanal miners can't get licenses. They struggle to get licenses, but it seems like there's a free-for-all happening in this particular area.
There's also complicity, it seems, from big mining companies as well. And as we've seen a crackdown or a clampdown of illegal mining and these miners being relatively easy targets, surely it's about time then that those big mining companies who are complicit in this, that they in fact are held accountable.
Well, yes, I think that conversation needs to be had, because the large-scale mining companies in this country are moving towards illegal mining because you don't pay these workers, they're not unionized. They can get 50% less than the wages that a unionized worker gets. They don't have pension funds, they don't have medical aid. There's no overhead costs for the large-scale mining company. It can get the chrome at a very low price. And this is what is happening. This is what happened in the Congo and the Katanga province as well. And it's time that the large-scale mining companies in this country be held to account.
But regulation isn't the silver bullet, though, is it?
Well, no, I don't think regulation is just good, effective administration. The role of the state is to administer and apply the law. The role of companies is to abide by the law. That is the United Nations code on investment and regulation globally. So why don't we apply best global practice in this country and ensure that people actually behave in a responsible manner?
On the point about artisanal mining, it's seemingly quite a missed opportunity here, which also, again, from the clip we just played, a lot of people feel as though there are too many barriers, really, for people to access this opportunity. What can be done for the country to start benefiting from that opportunity, or at least the miners themselves, at least?
Well, I think that what we've been trying to do is to organize small-scale miners and artisanal miners into cooperatives that get registered with the Department of Mineral Resources, with the Department of Trade and Industry, get all the necessary paperwork and so on in place, and then for the state to buy the mineral that small-scale and artisanal miners are producing so that syndicates can't buy it. And then for the state to process that, and then the state can recover some of the funds that are required to ensure that the thing is properly regulated. And until we've got a state buying agency that controls the flow of minerals out of small-scale and artisanal mining, there's going to be no control, because every gang and his friend will want to have a syndicate that exploit this super exploitable labor force that are called artisanal miners.
We'll have to park it there. Thank you very much for your time with us this afternoon. That was David van Wyk, who is with the Benchmark Foundation. Thank you very much for your time, David. To this now, the transformation of the United Nations will dominate the talks today at the UN during the Summit of the Future. Africa will be pushing for permanent seats in the Security Council. For more, we have in studio SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokwena. Very good afternoon to you. What are we likely to in fact, see now that things are finally underway and many of these heads of state have since arrived in New York? The issue of permanency, we've been talking about it for many years. Are we any closer to actually getting it?
I don't think we are any closer to a finalization of this matter. It has been a protracted campaign by the African group, but also other regions as well. Like in the Southern America, Brazil has been fighting. And therefore, I think it's not going to be a finalization of this matter. But the good thing is, finally, it is a serious matter on the agenda of the United Nations, and member states are taking this matter seriously. You saw when America last week made a statement that they now support the 2 seats in the Security Council. However, they were talking about not agreeing to veto powers for those 2 seats. And also on the continent now, the question is, if this matter is agreed upon in terms of these 2 seats allocation, where are we going? Which countries are going to occupy these seats? You have a situation where the Americans are clearly supporting the North, and the North will be Egypt with their long-standing relationship. And then the other seat, it's quite a strong contestation. The West Africa, the East Africa, the Central Africa, and the Southern Africa. You know that some people are saying South Africa, because to allocate this kind of a seat, your country must be a country with resources, but secondly, the country that has demonstrated the will and the commitment in terms of conflict resolution and peacekeeping. And South Africa, since 1994, has been involved in many situations where you had UN peacekeeping missions. And therefore, some people would look at South Africa, but you had the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, in East Africa saying that those seats must be on rotational basis again in terms of Africa rotating those seats. Then the question is, if that's the approach you are taking or the formula, already we have a rotational basis in terms of Africa being represented in the Security Council. And the issue here is veto powers. So I think this is going to be a big one for the African Union, particularly in January, when you have that heads of state and government assembly, and at the same time you will be electing the new Commission chair of the African Union.
Look, everybody wants these seats, isn't it? So who actually stands a better chance from the continent to actually get this? Is it just based, and again, what criteria are we looking at here? Is it just based on who the world superpowers favor, or is it a bit more nuanced than that, right? Is it a question of the strength or the sophistication of economies? Is it dominance or contribution to the continent? What criteria are we actually looking at here?
I think it will be the issue of strong lobbying. Countries, when Africa has agreed, for example, if Africa is able to agree that we are not going to go the route of rotating the seats to different countries, but 2 countries being permanent there, it will be a question of lobbying. Those countries who feel strong that they want to be there will have to lobby the other African countries to give them a nod. And like I said, you will have to look at regions as well, the North and the South in particular. And therefore, when you look at that, it will be the question of which country in those regions. And then you move to a situation where you now look at the capacity, the capability, and the experience. Because remember, when the United Nations was formed, after the League of Nations that failed after the World War I with the hope that there won't be a World War II, then you had the United Nations. Its primary responsibility with the Security Council being the organ of the UN was to maintain peace and security. And therefore, the Security Council mainly has to maintain the world peace. Which countries are better equipped in terms of contributing towards maintenance of world peace? South Africa has already demonstrated its commitment. That is why we're talking about South Africa in the Middle East question. You talk about South Africa talking about the Ukraine question, South Africa in Sudan, in South Sudan, in the DRC. We've been there in other regions such as Burundi earlier on. We've been there in Lesotho. We've been there in Cabo Delgado. So there has been a strategic commitment and a will, political will, from Pretoria since Mandela's time up to now to ensure that we do contribute towards the maintenance of world peace.
Finally, Team South Africa has touched down in New York. What sort of engagements are we expecting President Ramaphosa and his team will have in New York?
Today, clearly, we will be watching the president when he's delivering the statement at the Summit for Future, where this matter is going to be high on the agenda, as he pointed out to Tshwane Bryce Peace yesterday. And then on Monday, he will be engaged in bilateral talks. It's not clear yet the countries, but I think it will be mainly the South. As you know, that it is also part of the preparation for the BRICS Summit. Secondly, he will participate in the G-Summit, G20, on the margins of the UN, the member states of the G20. As you know, that Brazil will be hosting the G20. And of course, we are told that he will also be engaged on issues related to trade, where he might visit the New York Stock Exchange, and then on Tuesday, he delivers the statement from South Africa in the Assembly.
All right, thank you very much. We'll have more, of course, on how it all plays out from New York. That was SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena. We wrap up the show on this. September is a vibrant month for tourism industry, celebrated annually as Tourism Month to promote domestic travel, showcase the country's diverse attractions and highlight the sector's significant economic contribution. This month-long celebration encourages South Africans to explore their beautiful country, from stunning coastal regions to quaint small towns, villages and dorpies. As we approach World Tourism Day on the 27th of September, we recognize the global significance of this industry. Declared by UN Tourism, this day reflects on the sector's progress towards achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And joining us this afternoon is MEC Bitsa Linkopane from the Northwest Department of Economic Development, Environment, Conservation and Tourism. MEC, thank you for your time with us this afternoon, highlighting, of course, what the Northwest Province, or how the Northwest Province will in fact be celebrating these events. We are excited to learn more about what your province is doing. What can we expect? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and the fellow viewers. We are here in the Northwest today, and we are good.
What can we expect from your province as, of course, we are approaching World Tourism Day, and also what your province, in fact, has to offer?
One can say the 7th administration, led by Premier Mokgosi, has raised the bar in terms of the tourism approach to this province. We're agreeing that it is a province that has got 4 districts, and all the districts, in terms of how we agreed on the launch, during the launch of the Tourism Month, the MEC made it very clear that different districts of this province has got their own way of attraction of tourists, and they might not be compared, but it makes Northwest to be the best in terms of attraction of tourists. And the mood is that we must massify all the points in this province to be the tourism destination. And that's basically what the Premier has instructed me to do. And I think we are on par, looking at the activities that are unfolding in this month.
Mood is great. A strong economy is even better. How do you envisage that these initiatives will in fact benefit the communities that will be touched?
Yeah, agree with me that the launch was conducted in Bujanala, which in terms of the profile of our province is at the position 1 in terms of focus, especially attraction of international, national tourists.
Yes.
Looking into the corridor of Lanseria, Sun City, Pilanesberg. So we can safely say as government and the province that all is well when you look at the side of the Hartebeesport. The MEC has declared in the budget speech that we are going to massify issues around the land that has been acquired by our people where there is tourism activities and economic spin-offs. And we have done it. We are at present having a lot of about 500 and something hectares that has to go to Mekgaren CPA, which has got a possibility of development on the Oberon. That itself says international tourists are coming in there.
Indeed.
We are also having an opportunity around Sun City and Pilanesberg.
MEC, let's park it there, MEC Lenkopane. We'll have to park it there, all because we are out of time. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, MEC for tourism there from the Northwest Province. I suddenly feel like a holiday. Well, that's how we wrap things up this afternoon. That was the week ahead. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. The news continues at the top of the hour right here on the SABC News Channel 404. From myself, Sebenzile Nkambule, and the team from Studio 11, take care.